and as you mentioned, the outfield assists. But a stat that is really good to look at for defense is DRS, defensive run saved. You can find that on Fangraphs for people who don't know. It's a really good stat to measure a player's overall work on defense, and you got to do a little bit of digging for it, but I'm going to pull it up right now. In left field, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. has a 0 DRS, which is about Major League average. Obviously not a huge sample size, but a 0 DRS, I mean, that's not great, obviously, but it's at least serviceable, and that's something that the Blue Jays haven't really gotten from their outfielders in the last few years or so, a serviceable outfield. So
was Kevin Pillar's DRS under 0?
Last year it was, I believe, but in his elite seasons, 2015, 2016, I think it was in the 20s. Like, it was fantastic.
Yeah. Do you mind checking Teoscar's in center field?
Sure, but I don't think it's going to be too pretty, but we'll find out. Yeah, I'll check those up on the spot as well.
Teoscar Hernandez has been playing center field for the Blue Jays, in case you missed it for the past week. He's had an injury. I believe it is a forearm injury, which has kept him out of the lineup. But he's been a serviceable outfield, just filling in spots. Not a prototypical outfielder, but he's just getting it done out there in center field.
He also had that big game in Houston where he had 2 home runs, one off. Who was pitching that game?
Was
I
it
can't remember who was pitching.
Garrett Cole?
No, it was not. It wasn't Garrett Cole. This was the Sunday game when he had 2 home runs. He hit one off that reliever and one off the position player, Tyler White.
Oh, yeah.
He hit one off Tyler White in the 9th. Remember that?
Yeah. Was it Brad Peacock?
I'm not sure if he hit it off Brad Peacock, but he might have hit it off the reliever that came in. That reliever that really wasn't that too good.
Yeah, I do know that he did hit it off Tyler White, and that was a moonshot. Same with Gurriel's home run.
Yeah, so I got the numbers right here, as you requested. 94 innings in center field this year. Teoscar Hernandez has a -4 DRS. But conversely, in left field, in 295.1 innings, he's got a DRS of +2. So how about that? Last season, -11 DRS, -16 as an outfielder overall. So he's certainly made some really nice strides in defense. And in left field, at least, he's been a positive defensive player. So that's obviously a good sign. Unfortunately, his bat hasn't quite been as good as it was last year, but defensive-wise, he certainly picked it up, so that's always good to see.
Yeah, and credit to the first base coach after the Jays let go Tim Leeper. I believe
Mike Budzinski.
Yeah, he's been really helping out the outfielders this year with their throws to the cutoff man. You've seen the defense step up as of late, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. did play a fantastic play. Just wanted to put that in there yesterday. Just wanted to put that in here today. But yeah, the Blue Jays defense has been It's been stepped up since last year, to say the least. And by the way, he hit that home run off Sionel Perez.
Yeah. All right. So that's a good deconstruction there of Blue Jays outfielders and cornerstones. But some big news that came this week. Justin Smoak on the 10-day DL. He's hurt. So obviously Justin Smoak, one of the Blue Jays, probably the Blue Jays' most reliable overall player over the last few years or so. The Blue Jays won't have him for at least 10 days. So in comes Rowdy Tellez. We're going to assume he's going to take the everyday first base role. How do you feel about Rowdy Tellez playing first base? Do you think that this could be a chance for him to show that he can be a future for this team, like a future piece for this team? Or do you more see this as sort of just filling in, or you not really believe in Rowdy Tellez's potential? He has played okay this season. The on-base percentage, very weak, 266. That's well below league average. But everything else, he has had some good moments in terms of production. He hits the ball really hard. He leads the team with 13 home runs. Actually, he's tied for first with Randall Grichuk. He also is tied for the team lead with 34 RBIs. So certainly not a terrible hitter. He can at least hit the ball out of the park a few times and drive a few runs in. But strikeout rates are high. Do you think that this could be part of the future, or is he just there to fill in?
In the beginning of the season, we came into high expectations for Rowdy Tellez after that great monster September for him last year. And to say the least, I was kind of disappointed in Rowdy Tellez. His average dipped down. He wasn't walking a whole ton. But you did see that power supply, and he did showcase that yesterday with 2 home runs. But nonetheless, I feel like he isn't a replacement, and I feel like people tend to write him off as a first baseman and just put him into the DH, which I feel is careless to say because I feel like Rowdy Tellez is a serviceable fielder and he has defensive potential, kind of like maybe a Dan Vogelback or kind of like just a serviceable first baseman. And I feel like people tend to write him off as a first baseman. And I feel like if Rowdy Tellez was given the major league job for the first baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays, he'd really benefit off that, experiencing how to play the field, coming off the field, hitting, and just putting that all together. I feel like for Rowdy Tellez, that would really benefit for him. And with Justin Smoak and the trade deadline coming up, I personally feel like Justin Smoak will be traded away with his free agency coming up.
Yeah, and he'll certainly get that chance to play every day at first base, you'd think. The Blue Jays have other options so they can play at first base. Kevin Biggio is a guy who's played first base in the minors. Maybe he can slide there as well and then create some room along the infield. Eric Sogard playing really well lately. He could assume an everyday role in that area. So we always talk about the Blue Jays having a lack of options, but I think on this side, it's actually a little bit better. I think there might be a surplus of options, which is never a bad problem to have. So anyway, we're going to go deep dive into the Vlad Weekly Update, because why not? We are a Blue Jays podcast, and Vlad is the future. So as I mentioned earlier throughout the podcast, Vlad, who'd been killing it in that Baltimore series, had back-to-back games with 3 hits. He suffered a hand injury, was hit by a pitch from Garrett Cole on the Friday game in Houston, and missed the rest of that game. And since then, just 2 for 16 with that hand injury. And one of those hits actually came yesterday. He had a really nice game yesterday, I thought. Hit that screeching double off the wall in the first, and then walked a couple times. Also made that terrific play, as you mentioned earlier in the podcast. But that's just a Vlad update. Do you think that he's still feeling the effects of being hit by that pitch? He did come out of the game, and fortunately he avoided a major injury. But his overall production, you can't help but think it might have something to do with it, especially with the way he'd been playing. Now, obviously, the quality of the teams he's been facing, the quality of pitching he's faced against, Astros and the Angels, obviously a lot better than the Orioles, so maybe that has something to do with it as well. But just overall, he had a pretty tough weekend. Do you think could it be just a growing pain, or maybe is this injury a little more serious than we think?
We saw the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the Houston series got hit. He got drilled in the hand by the pitch. And in the last 3 games in the series, he's been combined for an 1 for 11 in this series, and has not been really good in this series. He did get his first hit in yesterday's game, but in the last 7 games, Vladimir has hit .320 with an on-base of .379 and a slugging of .470 with 3 RBIs, and has only struck out 5 times in 25 at-bats. So he has been having a solid week. And speaking from a baseball player, I play baseball myself, getting hit in the hand is not a joke, and it can really affect your playing ability, and it can really affect your hitting. And I feel like the injury may be more severe than it looks like. He was taken out the game immediately, obviously for precautionary reasons, but I feel like, personally, from experience, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. might be dealing with something more severe that could be impacting his day-to-day performance.
And we certainly hope that wouldn't be the case. Could you imagine watching this team without Vlad? At least with Vlad, you can see him in the batter's box. I feel like there's a chance he can do something special. And with him gone, I'm just not sure there'll be a reason for people to watch this team. And they're not playing well right now, and the bad part is, not going to get any easier. Next 6 games on the road in Boston and at Yankee Stadium. First time at both stadiums this season. Obviously, the Blue Jays will be there multiple times throughout the year. I think a total of, 10, 11 times at each stadium, I believe. I think it's 10. 2 3-game series and a 4-gamer, somewhere in there. Obviously, not the competition you want to play when you're struggling. Both the Red Sox and the Yankees among the elite teams, obviously. And Chris Sale's pitching tomorrow, so that should be fun. We're going to preview the series now. What are your expectations for the series? You just watch the Blue Jays, hopefully they can make it fun, or expecting some wins? Well, what's your feeling going into these 2 Murderers Row series?
Coming from the perspective of a optimistic fan that I usually am, I'm just going to go into the series just focusing on some good baseball, focusing on the young players on the Blue Jays like Gurriel, Biggio, and Guerrero, and even focusing on veterans like Eric Sogar, and hopeful performances like Aaron Sanchez, as we mentioned before, Marcus Stroman, and just hopeful for some good baseball. Watch these players progress against really elite baseball teams, and just watch them perform in road ballparks and great ballparks such as Fenway Park and Yankee Stadium.
Have you seen Edwin in that Yankees uniform?
God.
If that doesn't make you throw up, I don't know what does.
Yeah, Edwin in the Yankees uniform is not a good look at all, especially with the beard policy. His parrot has to unfortunately take a reroute to New York and the Bronx. It's not the best thing to see from a visual perspective of a Jays fan, but congrats to Edwin contending with the baseball team that might make it to the World Series this year, and they're getting all their stars back, as in Aaron Judge. Stan just came back yesterday, so they can be a really scary team. And Edwin has been having a really solid year. I believe he has like 23 home runs, right?
I think he's got 22 last time I checked, but he may have hit one in the last few days. I don't think I've been. I haven't really been up to date with the Yankees. I know he hit one, I believe, on the weekend, his first with the Yankees, but I'm not sure if he's hit one yet. We can obviously check, but
yeah, but for his age and his regression that we thought he was gonna be into, he has been having a crazy production year for the Mariners and now the Yankees.
He was tied for first, I believe.
Does he still play first base?
Sorry?
Does he still play first base, or is primarily a DH now?
I would think he's probably DH. They have Luke Voigt over there at first base.
Speaking of Luke Voigt, what a guy.
Sorry?
Luke Voigt, what a guy.
Yeah, I actually saw a Red Sox fan on Twitter, and this was last year in the playoffs when the Yankees played the Red Sox, and for some reason I found it really funny. No, it's not really that funny, but I don't know why. I guess I was just having a bad day, I guess. But he kept calling him Fluke Voigt in his comments, and I don't know. I just found that a little funny there. But Fenway Park, Yankee Stadium, never
a dull
stadiums
moment
that you love to play at, especially the Blue Jays. They've seen their share of bad games in those stadiums, and right now, just thinking about Edwin over that short porch against Sanchez or Stroman, it just gives me nightmares. So I'd rather not think about it. I think we can move on to other things, because when you talk about the Yankees and the Red Sox, it's not always great, especially in this era where they're both elite teams and the Blue Jays sort of aren't. So
yeah,
we're gonna segue into something that you want to talk about. You can take the floor from me, my friend.
Yeah, so right now I want to talk about the whole issue with Marcus Stroman resulting his comments. I believe it was Tuesday night's game, where he states that he saw on Twitter, just like many of us see on Twitter every day, about the trade rumors involving Marcus Stroman, the New York Yankees, many other teams like the Padres, and it's just been getting to Marcus Stroman's head, and it clearly looks like he's frustrated. And it clearly looks like he's frustrated with the front office, as he stated that they haven't reached out to him in the weeks past, and I posted a picture of all the quotes. And it feels like Marcus Stroman is frustrated with the front office on how they haven't. And when asked about if he will be here after the July 31st post-trade deadline, he feels like he doesn't know a clear answer. So to me, I personally feel like Marcus Stroman has the impression that he will not be fully surprised if he is traded. Do you get the impression as well, Rob?
Absolutely, and it's not so much of an impression that is new. This is something that we've known for the past year or so, that at the trade deadline in 2019, on August 1st now, which is the new trade deadline, July 31st is, that Marcus Stroman would likely not be a Blue Jay, and I don't think that feeling has changed, and I think that is just... Sorry?
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, hang on, my H got cut out for a second there, my bad. Anyway, so I think that the feeling hasn't changed regarding him being traded, and I think it's just forming into reality for him. And I don't think if I said this on this podcast, but I would be very disappointed if we're waking up on the morning of August 1st, 2019, and Marcus Stroman isn't either traded or extended. I don't think we can move forward with this asset not locked up or get future assets back for it. I'd be extremely disappointed in the front office if they weren't able to at least get something done with Stroman. I don't think they should play this out. They need to get something for him, or at the very least, make him part of the future. I don't know if